This is part 2 of our tutorial series on data enrichment with Elasticsearch. If you haven't seen the first video, I will leave a link to the first video in the description of this video. Now let's do part 2, which is more practical. I want to demonstrate how to enrich data if you plan to upload CSV files through Kibana. Also, I want to demonstrate what happens when you need to enrich incoming documents using multiple source indices. And I want to do this with a realistic scenario. The scenario I often run into is when an organization hosts paid events around the country. So the organization will set up a web page that lets people sign up for events. And because they want to keep the web page as simple as possible, they only ask for 3 pieces of information. They'll ask for the customer's email, they'll ask which location the customer wants to attend for the event, and they'll ask the customer what type of ticket they want to buy. And once they've selected the ticket, the website will automatically calculate how much the customer actually has to pay. So then they'll let the website run for a while and let the signups accumulate. And a little bit later on, the software developers from the sales team will give me a CSV file with just these 4 columns of information. And the marketing team will ask me to import this CSV file into some kind of analytics database. But the problem is that these 4 columns of information often don't give marketing people enough insight into the profile of their customers. But luckily, the organization often have other data sources. They'll often have a database of customer information. They'll probably have a dictionary lookup of different membership types so that marketers can use it to classify customers based on how much money they've spent with the organization over the years. And they might have a dictionary lookup of locations, locations where they typically host their events at. So the marketing team will ask me to manually extract, transform, and load all these different sources of data into one consolidated area so that other team members can do their data analysis. So let's actually just use Elastic to enrich the incoming sign-up documents with all this extra information. And I already have 4 CSV files prepared in advance to reflect each of these data sources. So let's take a quick look. I'm going to upload all my tutorial material into this public Git repo here. So I'm going to click on this data folder. And in here, you can see the 4 CSV files to reflect each of these data sources. Let's just quickly open them up. Okay, so for this location.csv file, I just entered 3 rows. This column here, the point, it's going to cause some problems during our Kibana CSV upload, but I'll show you how to get around those problems. The member underscore type, I only did 2 rows, a regular membership type and a premium membership type. This column here, price range, it will cause some problems when we do the Kibana upload, but I'll also show you how to get around that problem. Sign up information, nothing special. This will be our incoming documents that we need to enrich. And the user.csv will be our customer database. Nothing special here. It's very similar to to our first part of our video where we did the basic exercises. So let me quickly summarize our ingestion process because that dictates what policies, processors, and pipelines we're going to need to set up. To enrich the sign up information with user information, I'm going to do an exact value match from this email field to this email field. And then to enrich sign up information with location information, I'm going to do an exact value match from this location ID to this location ID. And then to enrich the sign up information with member type information, I'm going to do a ranged value match from this price range to this paid amount. So the rule that we're going to follow for the member type is that anyone who's paid $5 or less will be considered a regular member, and anyone who's paid more than $5 will be considered a premium member. So then once all this information has enriched the sign-up document, I'm hoping that we get a result like this when we do an Elasticsearch. So these white lines over here will basically be our base information from the original signup document. And now you can see that it's been enriched with the user information, geography information, and the member type information. So that's what we hope to achieve. So let's go ahead and set everything up, and we'll start by importing all the source indices first because they're going to be used for enriching the incoming document. So for this repository that we have here, I already downloaded all the CSV files to my local development area. So in this data folder, we have all 4 of these CSV files in here. And I'll go to Kibana now. We'll be in the machine learning data visualizer, and we'll do our uploads through this widget over here. So I'll press select file, and let's just upload the user CSV file first because it's pretty straightforward document, nothing crazy. You can see that Kibana has automatically determined the field types for each one of these fields. Everything is keyword except for the zip code, which it's going to determine as a numeric field. So let's go to the next screen because you're going to see this information here repeated. Well, first let's give this index a name. I'll call it the user index. And then let's click to the advanced tab just to review a few things. Now what you're seeing here is actually what's going to happen behind the scenes when Kibana and Elastic decides to process this CSV file. You can see the index settings is number of shards is just 1. The mapping is what we saw earlier, where Kibana said it's going to make every field a keyword except for zip code. Zip code is going to be a long integer. Right? Now the more interesting thing here is the ingest pipeline that you see here. In the previous exercises that we were doing, we were using a very simple ingest pipeline. We were using only one processor, which was the Enrich processor, where we specify the enrichment policy to use for our ingestion. But you can see that when uploading CSV files, Kibana and Elastic has set up a slightly more complicated ingestion pipeline that requires several processors. A CSV processor to take a message field and parse it into these 5, 6, 7 target fields for our user index. And it's going to, if there's any fields or any records or any kind of missing data, it'll just ignore it. So it's kind of a silent, a graceful move to the next record. And then some other things it's going to do is it's going to convert the zip field, which I guess normally comes in as a keyword field first, but Kibana realizes we need to convert this to an integer, right? So that's what this processor is for. Now, if we were using this to do some, if we need to set up additional policies for enrichment, we would throw another enrichment policy in here, which we're actually going to do a little bit later. But for now, I think the thing I just want to point out is that the ingestion pipeline can be more than just a single enrichment processor. There can be other processors in here as well. And with that said, really, there's nothing more here. We're just going to use all these settings as is, and let's just do the import. Okay, so everything in the user's CSV file should be imported. And if we actually open up the stack management, let's take a look over here. And if I click on index management, we should see a new index here called user, right? This is the new one that we created with the 3 documents from our CSV file. Okay, and the other thing we can do to quickly check is if I go to DevTools and I'm going to do a search. And you can see that the 3 records successfully got imported into our index here. And let's import our next file. Let's import the locations file. And you can see Kibana is going to take these fields and it's going to try to map it as the location ID is going to be a numeric field, and the point field is going to be mapped as a keyword field. And that's a problem. So Kibana thinks this is a keyword field, but what we really need this field to be is we need it to be a geopoint field. So I pulled up some documentation here for the different field types that Elasticsearch can have. And if we look for geopoint, you see that geopoint is a type of field that we can use. And if you were to do it through the REST API, it would look more like this structure. But in terms of what we're going to do here is that we definitely don't want Kibana to map this as a keyword field. So we're going to fix that on the next screen here. So we're going to import it. Let's call our index location. I'm going to click on the advanced tab and we can change this to geopoint. And now when we actually do the import, hopefully Kibana and Elastic will actually import this column as a geopoint field and preserve all its properties that way. The ingestion pipeline, I think we can keep it as is here. We don't really need to do anything else. So let's just press import. Okay, it looks like things are in. And if I go to my index management, let's reload indices. And we do see 3 documents for location. Let's do a quick search and make sure that it does come in as a point. In fact, I can really double check the mappings over here. Great, okay. All right, so let's upload the next file. Which would be, let's do the member type. All right, so 2 columns are coming in, the price range and the member type. Now you see that this is a JSON object. Let's see how Kibana will recognize it. So Kibana recognizes member type as a keyword field, which is great, but it's seeing the price range as also a keyword field. So we need to change this to be more of a integer range field, which we're going to fix on the next screen. We're going to call the index member type. And let's click to the advanced tab. So in here, actually, let me just see if it's, I just need to get the exact spelling right. Okay, I pulled up the documentation. This is the field type that we need. And if we're, I can actually double check something. I've uploaded all the mappings that we need for part 2. Let's take a look at the member type. Yes, okay, so integer range is what we're going to use over here. All right, so that's good. And we also actually need to update the ingestion pipeline because the ingestion pipeline doesn't naturally know how to deal with JSON data. So we actually need a JSON processor in here. And let me go back to my repository. And I do have pipelines in here. And when we're doing the member type import, we're going to need this processor or this ingestion pipeline. And these over here are exactly the same in here. So all I really need is just this part here. And throw it in between, let's just throw it here. Okay, so this processor will say that the price range field needs to be of the JSON type. And once it is the JSON type, then Elastic will know how to map it as a price range or integer range field. So let's try this and hopefully no errors occur. All right, that seemed to have worked. Let's take a look at our index or indices. We do have the member type. It has 2 documents for regular and premium. Take a look at our mappings. Yep, integer range. Let's do a quick search. Good. The range criteria is in the system now. Okay, so we got all the source indices in there, and I think we should just set up a policy an enrichment policy for each one of these indices now. So one policy to state that this email field will provide enrichment data for these fields. Location ID will provide enrichment for this point field. Price range will provide enrichment for this member type field. If I go to our repository, and if I click to part 2, I have the policies right here. And let's start with a user. So we're going to say, look at the user index. We're going to match on the email field and enrich with these fields. Pretty much just like the earlier exercise that we did. I'll copy this, go over here, and let's just delete that for a moment. Set up this policy, and let's actually execute the policy so that the enrichment database is made. All right, and we can verify this by coming back here, reload, and I think there should be enrich. There we go. It should be this one, the non-plural user. Next one is, let's do the location. Pretty straightforward. Really no explanation needed for this. Just look at the location index, match on location ID, and we're going to provide the point field. And let's go over here. Whoops. Here it is. Okay. Location policy, and let's execute it as well. Okay, and let's verify that. Reload indices. There we go. The enrichment index is there. Moving on. The final one is member type. We're going to match on the price range. It's going to use the member type index. And you know what? I'll copy both of these. And let's execute the policy to set up the enrich index. Go back over here, reload. And we should see the member type. All right. So all our source indices are in place and all the policies for them are in place. All we have to do now is set up an ingestion pipeline to leverage all of those policies so that we can upload the signup.csv file. And actually, because we're using Kibana, we can just do the ingestion pipeline and the signup.csv upload together at the same time. So, in a few minutes earlier, this file was actually rsvp.csv. I forgot to do a git pull. I've done a pull and it corrected this file name. Anyway, so let's just grab this signup.csv, throw it in here. Yep, we've got all the columns that we care about: email, product, paid amount, and location ID. The mappings for them are, these look pretty straightforward. Keyword, number, keyword. Okay, so let's go to the next screen, and we will call this file the signup, or the index signup. And if we go to the advanced tab, we're gonna need to do a few things here. So the first thing is the mapping. The mapping for the original fields here are fine because they're just straightforward keyword or number fields. But if I go back to our original slides, and this is the final output that we want to achieve. So the white fields are the original fields that come with signup.csv, and the orange fields are going to be the enriched fields. But out of all these fields, it's the geopoint field that is not a very simple field type. This is going to be a geopoint field type, and we should explicitly map that, or else Elastic's going to confuse it as a keyword field or some other field. So how do we do this? I already prepared it in advance. So if we go back to my repository, I'll click on part 2, click on mapping, and click on the signup.json. And I can just copy all this mapping Or I'll just be specific and copy just the geo property. And I'll just have to make sure that I got all my brackets in order. So in here, I am going to define this. And hopefully that's right. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, okay. All right, so we've done that mapping. Next, we have to talk about the ingestion pipeline. Now we have, over here, let's go here. We have 3 policies, 1, 2, and 3 for each of these sources. So we can define the processors for those policies, the 3 enrich processors for those policies right on between line 29 and 30. And I've already done that in advance as well. Let's go to policy. And if we click on user, sorry, not policy, pipeline, and click on sign up. So this file here is basically exactly the same as here because I just copied this, threw it in here, but I added 3 enrich processors. So these 3, because each one of these will specify a different policy. So we're going to say on the email field, use the user policy. Email field, use the user policy that we defined just moments ago. And throw all the enriched fields into a target field called user. Return 1 match. Next one is for the member type, we're going to use the member type policy. We're going to match on the paid amount field. So that's this field here. Sorry, before when I said email, I meant this field. A paid amount is this one. And throw all the enriched fields into a field called member type. And then for the location, we're going to use the location policy, match on the location ID field. It's this one. And we'll return only 1 result. So I'm going to add these 3 processors into our ingestion pipeline. Like that. All right? And hopefully this all works. I'm going to press import and hopefully no errors occur. Okay, that's a good sign. 3 have been in there. Let's take a look at our indices. Go to, I closed a few tabs. Now I have to open them back up. Oh, here it is. Index management. Let's see if our sign up, great, 3 are in there. Let's take a look at our mappings. Great, this is the one we really wanted to make sure. GeoPoint. Now we didn't explicitly specify the mapping for the location ID, but Elastic was smart enough to realize that location ID is just an integer, so it did that for us. And for the member type, we really only care about this field here, which is a keyword field. Okay, so it's all in there. Let's do a search to see if everything is okay. Going back to DevTools, we will do a search. So we get 3 records back. For each record, we have the member type. Good. It's been enriched with member type, enriched with the geographic information, and enriched with the user information as well. And one of the things I really care about often is that this really is of the type GeoPoint. And I can really test that with, if I go to Visualize Library, and I'm going to test that the GeoPoint data field is correct by creating a map visualization, because a map needs either GeoPoints or GeoShapes. And if we don't have those, then this map wouldn't work. So let's click Add Layer. And I'll just do a heat map. And let's pick a data view, sign up. So if sign up does not appear here, then just go to data visualizer, sorry, not data visualizer, just go to your stack management and go to the Kibana data views over here. And if that sign up doesn't appear here, click create, just call it sign up, and this should match with this item here on the right. If there's a timestamp field, go ahead and select it. And when you press save data view, then this record should appear here. Then when you refresh this page, you should have the sign up data view here. So I'm going to pick this, and you can see that the map automatically recognizes the geo.point field. And yeah, it's not going to show any other fields that don't have the right data type. I will press add layer, and let's say, let's aggregate, let's find the sum of all the sales. So we want to sum on the paid amount. So then we're basically developing a heat map, or maybe not paid amount. You know what, let's just stick to count for now. Oh, actually, no, it worked. It calculated. Okay, there. So we're basically seeing how, a heat map of sales in this area. And I'll just press save and close. Great. So GeoPoint data field is working correctly. Let's press save. Sales revenue heat map. I'm just going to save this so I can use it again later, maybe. A new dashboard. And let's go ahead and save this. And let's test our other field, which is the member type field. So let's create another visualization, and we'll just use a basic Kibana lens. On the horizontal axis, let's plot by member type. Member type keyword, yep. So we're going to see how much revenue was made for each member type. Okay, and we're going to plot by revenue. So let's say, hopefully this works. And instead of median, we'll do a sum. Okay, pretty equal, because I guess we don't have that many records to work with anyway. But yeah, so now we know that the member type field and the order fields are working correctly there. Let's just save. And let's also set up a lens to test the enriched user fields. Maybe we will do, let's do revenue by states. Paid amount. The sum. All right, now we'll see which state has done the most sales. Okay, so it looks like the enriched user.state field is fine as well. So there we go. We've enriched sign-up data with data from the user index, the member type index, and the location index. This concludes part 2, and tomorrow I will be uploading part 3. In part 3, we will demonstrate how to use Logstash to automate the data enrichment process. So if you subscribe to our channel and you press the notification bell, you should be notified as soon as that video is ready. Also, if you found this video helpful, then press the like button because it tells us that we're doing a good job. So we'll see you in the next video.